Megan.
And I'm Kira, and we're the voices behind Two People, One Question.
Our question today is, why do people have nightmares?
And our bonus question today is, what is your scariest nightmare? So, if you're wondering why we've uploaded on a Wednesday, is that we're trying to upload more frequently. So we decided that we're going to try and upload twice a week instead of just once. So that will be on a Monday and a Wednesday. So we just want to get out more podcasts to you guys.
Yes. Well, nightmares are normally just considered one thing. It's just like a bad memory or like a bad image inside your head playing out. But they can mean different things. Like sometimes nightmares really are just bad images in that mind that the dreamer can do nothing about. They're just sitting through like different bad images in their head.
Yeah. That's why if, for example, you watch a scary movie and then you go to sleep and you'll have a nightmare, because it scared you out and it like freaked you out as a bad image, so it just scares you while you're asleep.
Well, yeah, and nightmares, it can lead to a lot of stress, anxiety, or insomnia, or hinder your life throughout the day because you always have that feeling after a nightmare that you don't like, that just like you can't get over, and it kind of distracts you throughout the day.
Yeah, so the other day how we actually thought of this question was that Megan had a nightmare, and the whole day she was like, I feel really weird from having a nightmare. But the thing is, I don't remember anything about that, which is kind of abnormal for a nightmare. Yeah, so normally nightmares, you remember them a lot because it will shock your brain, and they normally occur during the later hours of REM sleep, so that's rapid eye movement. And it will shock your brain and it will make you wake up.
Yeah, but it can also be caused through different things like fever, ill health, or just a poor diet.
Yeah, so if you guys notice when you're ill or something, you'll have you have weird dreams, or you'll have more nightmares. That's normally because it just messes up your brain because you have bad health.
Yeah, and you find that you're having nightmares a lot, maybe you should check with your doctor if you're if you're ill or not, there's something deeper wrong with you that you're not completely sure about, or maybe you should just try and change up your diet a bit, because sometimes people eat unhealthily but they don't know it in a sort of way.
Yeah.
They don't think it's a problem, but it can cause nightmares and different problems, but we're not going to go into that today.
Yeah.
And well, the different thing between dreams and nightmares is that you don't normally remember dreams because they're happening through your unconscious and conscious mind, whereas dreams, they kind of alarm your unconscious brain a bit more, making you remember them.
Yeah. So personally, I do not remember my dreams ever. I think the only times I've ever remembered a dream is if it's been abnormally vivid, or if it's been a nightmare. But even so, I just I don't remember my dreams very well, and I just forget.
Yeah, well, I'm not like that though. I do remember quite a few of my dreams, but that's normally in the morning because we're not professionals on this, but sometimes your brain checks if you should send something into long-term memory or short-term memory.
Yeah.
And dreams, seeing that you can't really help you in day-to-day life because they're normally just abnormal things that you can't really use in your day-to-day life, that it just goes straight to short-term memory. After a few minutes of waking up from a really weird dream, you either go straight back to sleep, or it's just gone from your memory forever, which is why some people keep dream diaries.
Yeah.
To see what each dream is like.
And sometimes nightmares can even be so scary that they will wake up your unconscious mind, so they will wake you up while you're sleeping.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a way for the unconscious mind to kind of escape the dream in a way, because they feel threatened. Well, but there's also other things that nightmares can just be our mind reviewing threats that could happen in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Such as something happening to you, say you're being chased by someone, then that could happen in day-to-day life, and it's kind of your mind testing you in a way, is to see how well you'd react in that sort of situation.
Yeah.
Which can make it even scarier if you don't react well, because once you wake up, if it's realistic, then you'll be like, oh my god, what if that does happen to me? What if I'm being chased? And and I can't move fast enough, I can't like escape from them and I get cut down or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Well, some believe nightmares are actually telling you about certain things.
Yeah, so there will be like things like dream readers, they will like tell you what is happening. So again, using the example of being chased, might be because you're avoiding something in your day-to-day life, like an issue or something.
And this isn't just through nightmares, this can also be in dreams. For example, I've had a few dreams from past friends in old schools, and I've looked this up, and actually it's supposedly about like thinking on your past a bit, like what, I guess, kind of what would happen if it was different in your past, but I'm no expert on that. I don't know. That's just what I've gotten off the internet.
Yeah. So if you guys want us to go in a bit deeper with the subject of dreams, so like talk about, like do a whole nother podcast about dreams and like different types of dreams and stuff and what they tell you, then leave a comment and say what you'd like to hear.
Well, night terrors, some think that they are basically the same thing as nightmares, but they're actually a bit different. Kind of like how a cold is different from a flu, but nobody really like thinks too deep into that.
Yeah, it's just one is a little bit worse than the other.
Yeah, well, sometimes it can be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Sometimes your heart, well, in a nightmare, your heartbeat goes up a bit, like just the tiniest bit, but night terrors can lead to screaming, cowering, and an alarmingly higher heartbeat, which it can also hinder your day-to-day life. So
yeah, it's like showing like signs of being under serious threat, and so like those are the kind of signs that would be shown in a night terror rather than a nightmare. So a nightmare is just like you get a little bit shocked from it. Like a jump scare in a movie, it will just like make you go a bit like, ooh, for a bit, but then you'll come back again.
Yeah, so I'd like to revisit the unconscious mind bit, which is how like they wake you up, which is like sometimes it can really scare the person.
Yeah.
And well, there isn't much to say about nightmares, we don't think.
Yeah.
Well, we've explained a lot about what it is, which could help you in your day-to-day life, and this may make the podcast a little bit shorter, but well, we can try and lengthen out our nightmare bit about our nightmares as long as we can, not can't.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our bonus question of the day. If we need to remind you what that is, what is your worst nightmare you've ever had? I forgot for a second.
Yeah.
Now, I've had one or two nightmares that I might share in this video.
Yeah.
Which might lead the bonus question to be a bit longer than the normal one. But would you like to go first or second, Kira?
I'll go first. So I'm going to talk about, this relates to one of my main biggest phobia. So if you guys don't like hearing about insects or spiders, then be warned. I don't like talking about this like much, but it is like describing what the thing was about. If you guys want to hear us talk about phobias, then you can leave a comment, say what you'd like to hear. So my nightmare kind of is related to the one about like bad images in your mind. So basically, I had just watched the second Harry Potter movie, so I am a huge Harry Potter fan. I love it. It's just like one of my favorite things. But the second movie, there is a massive spider in one of the scenes, and I was actually watching it with my some family friends, and I was covering my eyes, and then they'd watched it before, so they were going to tell me when to look back. But they told me when to look back a little bit too soon, and I ended up seeing it. And the whole night I really struggled to get to sleep. But when I finally got to sleep, I was having a very vivid dream. Normally when I remember dreams, it's because they're very vivid, like I said before. But I was having a vivid dream that I'd woken up. So that's like another like quite a common type of dream, that you wake up, like you feel yourself wake up in a dream. So I woken up and I was a bit thirsty, so I went downstairs into my kitchen to get some water. And when I went into the kitchen, there was the spider from the movie in my kitchen. It's like 20 feet tall. It's just like the whole room, and it was just awful. And I ended up screaming and falling out of bed.
So I guess that's more on the side of a night terror, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, well, do you have any more? Because if not, then I'll make sure to move straight on to my second one.
Yeah. So I don't think I have any more. Like I said previously, I don't remember my dreams.
Well, I do, as I said before, remember some of my dreams, especially nightmares, which is quite weird for earlier this week, seeing I couldn't remember anything about it at all. But there is one which is like my worst nightmare, I would say, out of all of them. And this is by my house there is a small pub that you can walk down to, and I'd been there in a couple of times, and it was quite late at night in the dream, and I was walking down there with my mother to meet the rest of our family, which was still in there. And as soon as I walked in, like, everything was very like normal and calm, like everything was fine, but then for a sudden my vision went completely black. And then when my vision got back, everything around me was tinted red, and pretty much everyone was gone apart from my family, who were there dead. They're all just dead, either fallen over on the bar stools or on the floor. And for a moment this really alarmed me, but I guess not enough for me to wake up, which I really wish it had. But a few moments later, I have 4 sisters, a younger one and 3 elder one, and they rose up from the floor, like they still had like stab marks or whatever inside their body. And this was quite a few years ago, so I can't remember like completely vividly, but they came around me in a circle, and they started chanting. They started chanting in unison, like "save us" or something. I can't remember completely fine, but like they started like spinning around in the circle, and it was completely monotonous and very much in unison. There wasn't one offbeat, and they were all together. And that's I wish that was where the nightmare ended. But later, like after that happened, my vision went black again, and I woke up in the eyes of my older sister, the one that's closest to my age, and she was looking out. She was by one of the entrances that looks over a park, and inside the park there was a man fully in black. He had his back turned, and he had a top hat on, like a very like tall one. And I can't remember very well this part, but because I can't remember it really, that's the part of the story that I can't really remember at all. And she said something like, "Have mercy on her." I can't really remember what it was. And then once again my vision went black, and I was back in my old body, and everything was fine around me. So, but apparently I'd remembered everything that was in it. It was just like it was part of my life, and I was in the pub again with like everything was normal. All my family was still alive. Everyone was like happy. They were laughing with each other, and all of the other people were back. It wasn't just my family. So I went up to my mother, because our house lived very nearby, and I asked her if I could go home, and she said it was fine. But as I went to leave the pub, there was the man that I saw in the park, and he was moving around the windows. Now, obviously, this scared me, and I didn't want to leave the pub, so I moved around trying to find a place to hide, but he didn't come in through the pub. I crouched down near one of the windows that's very like close to the floor, because it's a lot higher than what's outside. And this is pretty much where the nightmare ends. I was staring there, and he came down like very fast, like it was just like a jump scare in a movie, and he was just staring at me with this evil grin on his face.
No, so that type of nightmare, it definitely isn't the like bad image one. Yeah. Maybe the man would be a bad image, but luckily you haven't seen any of your family dead.
I have not. Well, and I don't think it was much as a night terror as yours was, because yours is related to your phobia, which like that would obviously scare you a lot more. But when I woke up, I felt like my heart rate was going a bit faster, but really that was it. I was completely fine otherwise. And that very much scared me, but I didn't want to wake any of my family up, so I just stood there by myself and just went back to sleep because that's what I do. I don't like bothering my family, especially when they're asleep. But well, I don't know if I should go on to my next one. Should I go on to my next one to move out the video a bit more?
If you wanna, yeah.
Well, there's another one that I had. This one I think would be a bit shorter, and well, I'm not going to say the second part. We could leave that for another video, which I'd like to go on to. Well, stay tuned to find that one out. And well, this one was a bit more. This one wasn't as scary as I think, though. I don't see why it wasn't for me. Basically, I came out of this house that I didn't recognize and got into this taxi, the back of a taxi that I didn't recognize. And there was this person in the front, and I didn't recognize them, but they had like this giant mirror instead of the one that you could just like turn at the top. I'm not completely sure what they were. I obviously don't drive. And basically we were driving along the road. I can't remember, I don't think I knew where I was going, and I looked into the mirror, and behind me there was a man with an axe chasing us, and the car was going like relatively fast, and the person in the front obviously knew what was going on because she started driving faster, but the man, he was gaining on us a lot faster. And we came to a split road, and the woman started turning left to this kind of chain metal gate, and she told me to get out of the car, and I did, and when I got out of the car, she just drove away, or just disappeared. I can't remember completely what. I managed to get through the gate, but by the time that I did, the man was already right behind me, and he started hacking at me with his axe. I could remember it being very painful, and kind of remembering it when I woke up.
Yeah. Sorry guys if this scares you a bit, but like, we're just trying to explain as hard as we can.
Yeah, well, I do remember the pain a bit, and well, surprisingly that's not where they end, because a lot of the time when you die in a dream, you wake up straight away, I think. I'm not completely sure on that.
Yeah.
But later, like I remember staying there for like what felt like hours, just like bleeding out, which is kind of gory, but still. Then these cloaked people in like completely black cloak, you couldn't see their face, and they picked me up in their arms and they just started walking away, and that's where my dream ended.
Yeah. But then there was a second part of it that we were thinking of putting into another video.
Yay!
So if you guys want to hear the second part of that dream, then
stay tuned and make sure to like and subscribe to make sure that you can watch that and hit notifications. Well, that concludes our podcast for today.
Alright, tell us your opinions on the subjects we've discussed today, and if you have any ideas for future questions, please tell us in the comments.
And we have just started up new social medias account, our Instagram and Twitter accounts, so make sure to follow us there.
Yeah, the links to both of those will be in the description of the video.
We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!